Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Portable Gaming and welcome back to Upton Farm. So last episode we were going to finish cultivating field 3, this one right here, and the T7 was going to finish subsoiling field 9, plowing field 9, and it's done that. So we need to swap everything over. Only problem is it's going on 6 p.m. in the spring. Going on 1800, and we're going to run out of daylight soon. We're not in a hurry for time. We're not pressed for time. As we saw yesterday, we can't plant anything for a couple days anyway, and our grass crop won't be in for a minute. So what I'm going to do is get some things moved around, and then I think I will jump ahead to tomorrow morning, and we'll get started subsoiling field 40. Cultivating, power harrowing. This tractor needs some fuel too. We're going to cultivate field 9. We're going to spray it with pellet fertilizer first, then we're going to cultivate it. And that will get us close to the end of prepping all our fields to receive seed. We have a couple days to wait for that. Now I did, pardon me. I did do a little scouting around off camera while I was waiting for everything to get done. And I noticed a couple of things. A couple of things that may benefit us. One thing I noticed is there are 2 public grass fields. Now I've been calling them public grass fields. If they were public, well, depends on how we want to role play this. And I don't really like to role play. I mean, I'm playing a video game. I don't give myself a character. I know some YouTubers do, and that's fine. And I think in an earlier video I was talking about YouTubers that role play, and I was kind of giving them a funny voice and talking about the scenarios they create. My name is Bob, and my grandpa is retiring, and he told me I could have this farm and I could run it, and they create scenarios, and I sounded like I was maybe being kind of mean-spirited. I wasn't. You got to admit, some people nerd out, but I nerd out, so I don't make fun of nerds. Nerds! I'm a nerd myself, bit of a nerd. So, some people role play. Drop that. Unload the hydraulics. I'm a bit of a nerd myself. I don't role play though. As far as I'm concerned right now, I'm just playing a video game. I'm not an actual farmer or role playing an actual farmer. Having said that, I ran around a little bit off camera, spotted those grass fields, and I got to thinking, if they're public, that's us. We're the public. But I guess another way to think of them, well, you could think of them as grass fields that we already own, or you could think of them as actual public grass fields that we can mow for the council, pick up a few bucks, and we get the grass out of it. The thing about that is, if they were public fields, we would hardly fertilize them before we mowed them. That wouldn't make any sense. That we would make the grass grow extra just so we could mow it as a service to the council. So instead of calling them public grass, which I've been calling them public grass fields, public meadows, I'm going to go ahead and say that we own those. They just don't have a number on them. So those will need to be sprayed with pellet fert as well. But it got me thinking, now we've got some other grass fields, and that opens up the possibility of not planting grass on those fields down by the store that we had talked about. I believe it's 32, 33, and 34. Yep, down there in the southeast corner of the map. 32, 33, and 34. We were going to plant grass there, but we found 2 other grass fields. Now we've got a small mower, and that's it. We don't have a butterfly mower yet. We've got 1 small mower. So as I'm thinking about this, because we have free grass already planted, and we'll throw some fert on it, but it's already growing. It's on the, I believe, the 4th day of spring, we can even bring in a small harvest of that grass. So, do we still need to plant 32, 33, and 34? I'm going to say we don't. But that changes things a little bit, because now if we're not going to plant grass on them, they do need to be prepped like our other fields. I don't plow grass fields because the 10% bonus, we get 2 harvests a year of grass. The 10% bonus is less critical, but also with regular crops, when you harvest them, it takes the field down to stubble, and then you can get in there, subsoil it, cultivate it, etc. Grass regrows, so if we were to plow grass fields to get the 10% bonus for plowing, we would then have to reseed them, right? So is that a net plus for us? Is the 10% that we get back worth the extra labor and seed that we need to spend getting that field planted again, because it won't grow after we plow it? And my math says no. So I don't plow grass fields, and for that reason we did not plow those grass fields. But now they have 1 layer of pellet fert on them. They haven't been plowed. They are all cultivated. They could be seeded right now. Over and above that, I'm pretty sure that Lemken seed drill we have is a direct drill, and we can, even if they weren't cultivated, we could just throw seed directly in there. That was for grass, and if we're going to do canola in there, which I think would make the most sense because we get the most money for it, if we're going to do canola in there, then those fields do need to be prepped. So nothing can go in the ground for a minute anyway. We will continue with the plan, which is to bring the power harrow up here, get this field cultivated. We're going to get field 40 plowed. We'll continue adding the 2nd layer of pellet fertilizer to these fields as we prep them, and we'll think about what we want to do with 32, 33, and 34. The reason we want to think about that is we would need to move some equipment over to the other side of the map and plow those fields. With the time that we have, I would say after we plow them, we should probably cultivate them. Reason being, if we wait till we're in our window to seed and we realize the Lemken is not a direct drill, then we would need to run a cultivator over there, and at that point we would be in, maybe not a time crunch, we don't own that many fields, but we would be in a bit of a crunch to get those fields cultivated before we could seed them. So, something to think about. Something else to think about is we have a single width mower right now. We just have that cavernal end. We don't need a rake if we just go directly behind it. It's tedious because you've got a lot of rows. It's a fairly narrow mower, so you have a lot of rows that just come out of the mower. But you can pick up the individual rows as long as you don't run a tedder over it to make hay bales. Now, if we run a tedder over it, it does spread it out, and at that point we do need a rake. And we're down to 226,000 pounds. So these are all things to think about as we're sort of making our plan here. If we buy a tedder, if we buy a rake, if we buy a forage wagon, if we buy a baler, right? How does the math all work out? And I would probably run the Krone Optima, is it? The big baler from AR and Modding that also wraps. At that point we could skip the tedder, we could mow, and then run a wrapping round baler over those rows and make silage bales that we can sell for a decent amount of money. Problem is that baler, I believe, is 150,000 pounds. So once again, we're spending all our money. We still have, put this right here. still have the ability to take out a loan if we need to. And I just remembered, as I got in this, I noticed that it needed fuel. And then I didn't buy any. We've still got work to do, and we've got time. So I think I will go ahead and throw some fuel in here right now while I'm thinking about it. Now the other problem is with those grass fields now, those other grass fields that we found. We almost go from famine to feast in that now we have a lot of grass, right? I got the small mower because we didn't have a lot of grass to mow. Now we're getting more grass than, maybe more grass than we want to mow with that small mower. But that comes down to money, right? I would love to have a big set of butterfly mowers, but I think I just bumped my fuel tank. I'd love to have a huge set of mowers, but if we did that, we would definitely need a rake, because that would be, the Cavernolan that we have right now is just going to throw a single width. We can pick that up with either a forage wagon or a baler. If we go butterfly mowers with a second mower on the front, we're 3 rows wide. We have to row that. There's no way we could just drive over all those rows endlessly with a baler. And then again, if we use a tedder, we have to have a rake. So we've got our full loan available. Things to think about. We've got something else to think about, and that is it here? Right there. We've got something else to think about as well. Down by the sawmill, I said I wasn't going to log, but down by the sawmill I found some dead timber, standing timber. It looks like we could clean it up. But then, what to do with it? And obviously we'd sell it. We'd sell the... I'm just going to confirm I'm going the right way here, and I am. Obviously we would sell that timber. But in what form? The longer your logs are, the more money you get for it. But that requires equipment. If we just take our herring trailer over there and cut the logs into small enough pieces that we can hand lift them, we don't need to buy anything. We already own a chainsaw and we already own that tipper. We wouldn't get a lot of money, but we also wouldn't have to spend any. So as always, it's, we're looking for that good delta. We're looking for the net positive in that the amount of money that we spend brings us in more money than we spent. And it sounds like a no-brainer, but I know I lose sight of that sometimes. And it's fun buying equipment, and it's fun playing with equipment. But I forget sometimes that we want to run a good, successful farm. Right, this is field 40. So we'll go here and field 40. Make us a course. I'm going to start this tonight. I've reconsidered. I was going to speed through the night and start tomorrow morning, but I think we'll just go maybe 20 minutes or half an hour this video, and we'll get things sorted out. I'll let all the workers finish off camera, and then we'll pick up again tomorrow. So there may be some logging in our future. I looked at log grabs, they're a few £1,000s. And what I didn't want to do is spend a few £1,000s on a log grab and then only get a few £1,000s for our trailers of logs and end up, right? Now to recover what I spent on the log grab, I need to just log all during the spring. And I really don't like logging. I understand why the developers put it in. I think it's a great way to make some money, and it's a great way to sort of take a break from farming. And then with seasons, it really makes sense, because with seasons, there are times when you're waiting. You know, with base game, you can do anything you want, anytime you want. You can be harvesting one field and planting the field right next to it. With seasons, you do have to wait sometimes. I like that, but there is some downtime that you don't have with base game. So I can use that downtime logging, but I really don't want to, because I really just don't enjoy logging. So we'll get this guy going. And then what I'm going to do is probably grab the pellet spreader, broadcast spreader, and drive down and hit those 2 fields. I guess you could say I discovered them. I mean, I didn't discover them like Magellan, but I saw them on the map when I was scouting logging areas, and I realized, hey, there are 2 other fields that we can, 2 other grass fields that we can harvest. We'll go ahead and say that they're ours. I think that makes the most sense. It's twice I've driven into that fuel tank. Yeah, as I said, as many hours as I've played this game, you would think that I would be a better driver. When we talk about playing realistic, but realistically, I have to acknowledge that I'm not as cautious with these tractors as I would be if I was driving a real tractor, my own or one that belonged to an employer. This is field 9. Yes. Field 9. I don't know if I would call it the new courseplay, but the latest iteration of courseplay. Courseplay can be very frustrating, but I think for a farm like this, and I always play solo. I don't ever play multiplayer. I have a couple of times. I've gone into servers and played multiplayer, and I guess I don't get it, because every multiplayer server that I've ever been in is 7 or 8 people frantically mowing grass to make silage, and it always seems to be at night. So it's just mowing at night. Am I wrong there? Tell me in the comments. It seems like every multiplayer server I've ever been on is just mowing grass. Occasionally corn for silage, but it's just very chaotic, right? Six mowers, 2 forage harvesters, and a lot of people carting grain, or carting silage. And that continues for hours, and then trolls come in, throw all the tractors in a pond, and everybody gets disgusted and quits. I've seen that over and over and over. So for that reason, I do not go on multiplayer servers anymore. I play solo, and if you're going to play solo, I think you just about need courseplay. And that was kind of a love-hate thing because courseplay does have its problems. It can be challenging. The latest version of courseplay, I have to say, they're getting the bugs worked out. And I hear myself saying these things, and I'm going to bring up a small map here because I don't straight away recall where these fields are. I know approximately where they are, but I don't want to drive past them. So for something like courseplay, I hear myself not complaining about it, but criticizing it, finding ways that it could be better. And then I realize, somebody made this for free and gave it to you. You should be grateful. And I am. But being grateful and appreciating something that someone has done for you does not in sim gaming and not in the real life, does somebody doing something for you permanently and completely exonerate them from feedback. And feedback can be negative. To me, that falls under the category of if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Well, who made up that rule? That's dumb. I think. Wait a minute. Is that the same one? Okay. We're going to go do the two fields that I just spotted on the map, and I forgot we have a gigantic grass field right by the farm. That's on me. Must be that legalized marijuana we're getting in the U.S. It's made me all forgetful. So, where's my gate? Here's my gate. Right? So you hear people say that. You hear that expression. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And I think, who the hell made that up? It's dumb. Anybody can have an opinion about anything. Anybody can offer feedback on anything. And sometimes the feedback is negative. And that's just something that, as adults, we need to deal with. You can't. Right? I've seen some mod makers and map makers on forums have absolute meltdowns because people are asking them questions about their mod, and they just go absolutely ballistic and start yelling about how, hey, I'm doing this for you for free. Well, yeah, that may be the case. If I slip and fall on a sidewalk and whack my head and the paramedics come and they hop out of the ambulance and they're drunk. Right? They hop out of the ambulance and they're drunk, and they're doing things that I am concerned about. I can't ask them just because they're helping me. I guess they're not really doing it for free. Somebody's going to pay for that. You get my point. Just because they're doing something for me, I'm not allowed to question them, and that doesn't make sense to me. It never has. So, courseplay can be challenging. It's definitely had its issues, and there are times when I've been using courseplay and it does things, and I think surely this is not just happening to me. I'm not the only person this is happening to. Why was this released? Right? Did the developers not know that it does this? That they have to know. They tested it, I assume. And if courseplay does something, some of the frustrating things that courseplay does, you go to a forum, you type in your problem, and you get back very long threads with people saying, yeah, it does exactly the same thing for me. So now we know this is an issue with courseplay. And I think for some of them, not all of them, I mean, every app, every mod is going to have some issues, but there are issues that I see in courseplay, and I think maybe you could have held off on this, unless they're sort of beta testing it on the players, which is not not the worst thing. And again, I get conflicted about it because it's free. They're just giving us this stuff. I want to go to the left here, not the right. They're just giving us this stuff. So I don't have an answer for that yet, as far as, you know, what level of feedback. When does feedback become criticism? When does criticism become just being kind of not cool, right? I guess that's a case-by-case basis. Well, this entire video, I have to say, has gone really not in the direction that I wanted it to go in at all. I thought my plan, oh, that's a nice fog effect though. Oh, cool. My plan was to advance this to tomorrow morning. And get the T8 started on the Power Harrow and the T7 started on the Subsoiler. And then I would throw some fert. And instead it's just gone, I wouldn't say it's gone badly, but it's certainly gone in a different direction than what I thought it was going to go in. And now I don't even think I'm going to have enough fert to finish this field. So could be I haven't had enough coffee. It could be I've had too much coffee. But you know what? It's just a game. I might be able to finish. This thing throws a pretty wide spread, so I might be able to knock this out. Yeah, we've definitely gone 180 degrees opposite of where I thought we would be grass-wise. By realizing we have all these other fields. And it's crop grass as well, so we can fertilize it and we won't get the full 200% yield, but we'll get 190. And 190 is pretty close to 200. So I think what I'll do, these videos keep ending up being so dark. Mostly because of all the night. Yeah, night equals dark. Read that in a science book. And I'm not planning it that way, but I also from the beginning, I'm doing, wow, I just started 4 sentences at the same time. From the beginning, I wanted these videos to be long play format, and I wanted them to be sort of organic. It's something that I like about these games is that they're open-ended. You take them in the direction that you want to take them in. This is your world, as Bob Ross used to say. So things can kind of flow a little bit. We can realize things like realizing that I put the Denmark weather modifier in my seasons, or modified seasons with the Denmark weather, and we're not going to be able to plant crops for a couple days. I didn't realize I did that. It's my mistake. It's not really a mistake. It's something that I did as I was setting up the game, as I was dialing in the mods. I selected that because I wanted the weather to be a little bit more, it's not harsh. What's the word we're looking for? I wanted the weather to be a little bit more challenging. That word just keeps coming up over and over. But that's what I wanted, so that's what I did, and then that's what I got. I just forgot. Between the time when I put the mod in and the time we got ready to start drilling, I forgot I put that mod in. But I did. So, no big deal. We'll figure it out. But that's a development, and that's a development that we need to work around, and so we sort of surprise ourselves. It's different every time. I find that even though I play this game, I think, very consistently, I do sort of the same things every time, the game still moves in a different direction every time. And I'll play a map for 2 or 3 months. And in the time that I'm playing that map, 2 or 3 months, maybe another map comes out. So by the time I get done with the map that I'm on, there's a whole nother map to go to, one that I've never played before. And that's got another set of challenges. So it's, to me, the game, there are things that are consistent, but it's also different every time. As opposed to the kinds of games, not necessarily simulation games, but any kind of video games, where it's really exactly the same every time. You just memorize a pattern, you go through, right? But I think as we get more into procedurally generated games, and as consoles and PCs get more and more powerful, and as we start knocking on the door of AI, I think games are going to continue to become more nonlinear and more, I wouldn't really say they're tailored, but more adaptive. You know the word I'm looking for. That as you're playing a game, it's adjusting itself to you in both good and bad ways. And by that I mean it's going to be more tailored to your personality and your style of gameplay, but I would expect that it could also be tailoring itself to be more challenging to you, more challenging in the way that you want to be challenged. It is fun to sandbox a game, no doubt, but not always. There are times when I like games that are very difficult, as long as they're not tedious. I don't like tedious and redundant and sort of grinding games, but I like games that really make me stop and think. It's one of my favorite things. Now, I forgot a gate the other day, and it's sort of bugging me. I am going to leave this gate open deliberately because we're just going to hit this grass field right here, and then the one next to it, and I think we're going to call it an episode. I will let the T7 and the T8 finish up off camera, and then we'll pick it up. Yeah, I think we can. Yep, we can see this well enough. We'll go ahead and knock this field out. Yeah, I seem to be working in the dark quite a bit, but that is the direction the game is going in, so I'm just going to go with it. And yes, I do know that there is a cutoff to the side of the field between meadow grass and crop grass, and I'm wasting a little bit of fertilizer spreading it on an area that can't be fertilized. But I hate leaving gaps, so I hate leaving gaps. Apparently I don't hate wasting fertilizer. I sort of do. I take that back. I don't hate either. I don't hate anything. That's a pretty strong, powerful word to say that you hate something. I think you probably don't want to say that unless you mean it. Not like you're going to put a curse on somebody. I don't mean it like that, but for yourself and for the people around you, you should probably reserve that word for when you really mean it, so they know to take you seriously. That makes sense. Yeah, you know what I mean. You don't just want to hate everything. Oh, I hate that. I hate that person. Hate that guy. Hate that girl. And then it loses all meaning. I think if you choose your words carefully in this life, people will spot that. It's been my experience. A lot of people just throw language around, and that's their choice. It's not, there's no law against it, but For me personally, I like to choose my words, and I try to speak slowly. I try to speak thoughtfully, and that seems to be something that people get. Sometimes some people don't get it at all, but you can spot them right away. I can anyway. There's some people that just don't care about language, about words. They throw words around, and I find sometimes those people tend to be the kind of people that don't really care about anything. They're just sort of going through life, doing their thing, and that's obviously that's their right. They can do that. They're not hurting anybody. They can do whatever they want. But that's not necessarily the kind of person that I enjoy being around, and it's definitely not the kind of person I enjoy doing business with. I like, if I'm working with somebody, working for somebody, looking for a client, I want them to be, in some ways, absolutely serious as a heart attack. And we can make a little money together. Boy, this entire video, I have to say, I'll review it before I post it. I do a quick run through just to make sure the quality is up there. But this has definitely been kind of a stream of consciousness free association video. And I'm going to take a look and see if this is a keeper, because I've really been kind of letting my mind wander. Right, we're going to be okay on fertilizer. We are not okay on daylight. So I won't apologize for that, but I will tell you I'm aware of it. I'm aware that we're doing a lot of nighttime videos. We are on ETS2 as well. We've done a lot of night driving. I know some people love it. I personally like it, but depending on your monitor, I think when you watch that video, you might not be able to see anything. I know one of the farm videos, when my girl saw it, and she previews these for me as well, and keeping an eye on me, make sure I don't do anything dumb. She said, geez, babe, it was pretty dark. Like the first 10 minutes of the video was just your voice, because you couldn't hardly see anything. And I was telling her, oh, no, it was dark. I was moving around the yard. I was putting fuel in a tractor. I was doing these various things, and kind of a pause. And she says, "Yeah, it was dark. You may have been doing things, but to a person just turning the video on, it was just dark." So I'll try not to do any more nighttime videos. I was trying not to do anything in the dark today. My goal, like I said, was to skip ahead tonight, but it was too early in the afternoon. And thinking about that, that's on me. What I should have done was advance the time to evening off camera, and then started the recording and used seasons to skip through the night, or just skip through the night off camera and started in the morning. I think because our first day went by in 3 videos, for some reason I had it in my head in sort of a, when you instantly form a bad habit. Might not be a bad habit, it might just be a habit. But I guess I thought day 2 would be 3 episodes long as well, and it doesn't have to be. So I think, no, I backed up right to the gate, didn't crash into it. But no, a day doesn't need to be 3 episodes. I guess because the first 3 videos represented a day, I thought the same would be true for the second. But that's not the case, so I could have skipped ahead, and then we would have had a 2-episode day. So I'm going to take this around to the other side. I'm still figuring out where I want to put things, and just for right now, I'm going to put this here. I don't know if this is going to be a permanent home either for the spreader or the tractor, but just for right now. Close the gate. Close the gate. There we go. And this one as well. Right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it right there. We've got the T7 and the T8 finishing up their respective tasks. We've got FERT on all our grass fields. When we start next time, we're going to decide what we want to do with 32, 33, and 34, whether we want to take the subsoiler over there and get those prepped to receive canola now that we've got these other grass fields that we didn't know we had before. So think about that. I'll think about it too. When we get started next time, it'll be morning and we'll make a decision. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Take care.